Elizabeth Montaño, faculty member in the CANDEL program. CANDEL stands for Capital Area North, Doctorate in Educational Leadership, and we've been around since 2005. Today, I will share some information about the program, including the vision, the mission, as well as our schedule and our application process. In addition, throughout this presentation, you will be hearing from some of our amazing CANDEL alumni sharing their experiences in the program. Let's start off with our CANDEL leadership. We have Dr. Rosicela Rodriguez, who is the Associate Chair of CANDEL and has been with the program since 2013. And me, Dr. Elizabeth Montaño. I am the Faculty Chair of the program and also Associate Professor of Teaching and Education here at UC Davis. Okay, so before we begin with details about CANDEL, I'd like to first distinguish what is an EDD versus a PhD. So an EDD is a program that continues your engagement as an educational professional. There's an emphasis on the interplay between theory and practice, and the dissertation is grounded in educational leadership issues connected to the student's practice. So the way I like to put it is that it's for students who want to remain working in their settings and want to grow as leaders, and who want to conduct research in their settings to continue to improve the institutions and the experiences of students. Whereas a PhD serves as preparation for research for an academic career or a career in research. It is a full immersion in research activities with some possible exposure to teaching. And the dissertation research contributes to theory, as well as serves as a platform to further the student's future research agenda. So that's what distinguishes for us the EDD journey versus the PhD.
CANDEL is a great doctoral program within the UC Davis School of Education that is really designed for practitioners to take what they've learned in the workplace and take it to the next level and really utilize the philosophy of growth, mindset, student-centered efforts, and equity, and applying that to the future of education.
So let's begin with our vision for CANDEL. We're very proud of our program. And in the past few years, we have been using the principles of EDD program revision from CPED, which is the Carnegie Project on the education doctorate. And so we have revised our vision and mission and principles to reflect what our students are experiencing in their settings and who they are, as well as the issues that they are confronting. Most importantly, we have become even more intentional in our commitment to equity and justice in centering these values throughout our program documentation.
I think my philosophy of educational leadership has definitely been impacted by my time in CANDEL, particularly my feeling around how it's connected. I work in higher education. I've worked in higher education for close to 30 years. And I have rarely thought about sort of the systems of education of K through 12 and how they are connected to the students. And sort of my philosophy of education now, as it stands today, is really about how these systems that we use to educate students and to support students don't really line up necessarily with the student experience between K through 12 and higher ed.
CANDEL is guided by a mission to advance educational equity and social justice by preparing transformative leaders to enact systemic change through critical, collaborative, inquiry-centered, and timely action. Therefore, we nurture scholar practitioners who can deconstruct and challenge their own biases, as well as dismantle systemic and educational inequities, as well as leaders who engage critically with theory and research to inform their leadership. We nurture a collaborative environment where leaders come together to solve problems, and we integrate practitioner and scholarly knowledge to address the problems of practice.
The cohort learning and the cohort model in the program really helped me in evolving how I thought about myself and educational leadership. The opportunity in the cohort to learn from each other, to really enrich each other, and for my own professional acumen to be enhanced really by my other colleagues and the folks in the cohort. And so that opportunity in the cohort to refine my thinking, to have folks to invite me to expand how I consider and understand not just concepts, but the great part about being in a cohort with other scholar practitioners is really the opportunity to examine theories and ideas and integrate them into everyday practice.
There are many values incorporated in the vision and mission, but we also want to list them and distinguish them separately for our students. So the 4 program values are leading for justice, critical inquiry, transformative research, and scholar practitioner identity, which are interwoven into all of our coursework.
CANDEL really spoke to me because of its work around equity and around really understanding who you're serving and why, and really taking into perspective what are some of the practices in place. So understanding the theory, but considering practice. And that was so important because often theory will allow you to look at something through a very rosy perspective that doesn't really have the application of how do you truly center equity, if that's your philosophy, and how does that look like on a board agenda, in a policy, in a new law. And those pieces of the CANDEL experience are so valuable because they're real, and it's truly what can change education as a whole for California.
Let's get into the structure of CANDEL. Year 1 and 2 is full-time, substantive coursework using the 4 principles. And year 3 and beyond is also full-time, but focus on the dissertation proposal, qualifying exam, and the dissertation itself. Typically, our students complete the program between 3.5 to 5 years, with many of our students completing the program in under 4 years.
Is important to understand is it's not a part-time graduate program. Like, I think I've talked to people who go, oh, so you're going to school part-time. No, I'm working full-time and I'm going to school full-time. Particularly during the first 2 years when we're involved in coursework. Now, the CANDEL program is really great because the things that I'm doing in class are really designed to complement what I'm doing at work. So it's not as though I'm 40 hours a week in work and that has nothing to do with what I'm doing in the CANDEL program. My learning in CANDEL is really designed to augment what I'm doing in the office. And the research that I'm engaged in and the types of assignments I get are really meant to really complement what I'm doing in the office. So it's not as though I'm completely split in those ways.
CANDEL provided me an opportunity to have a doctorate without having to give up my career and pause in the working world. Unfortunately, especially for women, once you leave for a long time, I was worried that I'd become irrelevant. And so it allowed me to continue my career path while still pursuing a dream and an aspiration that I had.
This is a full-time program with 12 units per quarter. So we have a very, very busy schedule. Courses meet on Fridays and Saturdays from 8:30 to 5. We call those CANDEL weekends. And so here's a sample list of what our CANDEL weekends are like this year. There are 3 courses offered over 6 weekends in a quarter, which is a 10-week quarter. And so CANDEL weekends are typically every 2 to 3 weeks. Sometimes you'll find that they are back to back, depending on holidays and other events. Our classes are mostly in person with very few courses offered online.
one of the reasons I chose CANDEL is I wanted an in-person experience. There's plenty of online education, but I felt like my learning was better in person. I really like getting with people and mixing up ideas and having in-person conversations.
One of the pillars of our program is the commitment of our faculty. We have a very engaged group of faculty who teach and advise in CANDEL. Most of our courses are taught by our full-time Senate faculty who have expertise in various areas related to policy, higher education, school finance, school choice, language development, learning, and more. Most importantly, even if your area of research is not directly tied to an area of expertise in our faculty know how to support you to conduct your research.
For me, the faculty has just been invaluable, super encouraging, so well versed, right? Like that's the other thing that I have been inspired by is the faculty, the range of their skill set, their ability to really support us and support me in practical ways, inviting and encouraging me to really bring in that everyday experience and really lean into being a scholar practitioner, really made all the difference, I think, for me. And I think is probably one of the hidden gems of the program.
There are many ways that we match students with an advisor. And so it's oftentimes a match based on their expertise or their interests, but also the methodologies they use. And so our faculty are very accustomed to advising students who are not necessarily perfectly matched in their research area. And here's a longer list of the faculty areas of expertise. Another pillar of our program is our alumni. Here you see a few folks who have graduated in the past few years. We have a very engaged and extensive group of alumni who serve across institutions of higher ed, in K-12 institutions, as well as nonprofit agencies, state agencies, policy organizations, and so forth. We are very proud of how they represent CANDEL, how they speak about our program to others, and how they engage with us, sometimes even teaching in our program or serving on committees, and just showing up to represent CANDEL whenever they can. Okay, so let's talk about how you apply and what to expect. Here you have the website for the application. It opens early in the fall, and our application is due on February 1st, which is a firm deadline. On the website, you will find the minimum admission requirements, which include an application, letters of recommendation, transcripts, statements of purpose, which I want to just go into a little bit. It is very important that your statements give a specific and clear vision for who you are and why you're coming into this program, why now. We need to make sure that you explicitly connect to our program pillars, our vision, our mission, our goals, and that you speak to how you center equity in your work. I want you to see the statement of purpose as something that gives us a fuller picture of who you are, beyond what is already listed in the application.
I decided I'd do this one thing for me, and I have not regretted it, not once, which is surprising. I was sure I'd, shortly thereafter be like, why'd I do this? Even during the hardest times and in the middle of a global pandemic, I felt positive and got continuous reminders that this was the right thing.
Like I said earlier, our program is a full-time program. So here you will see the fees, which vary year to year. We highly urge you to apply for the FAFSA because we do offer some supports, and we base those supports on financial need, which is determined by the FAFSA. So it's very important that you apply. We know you will have questions and we're excited to connect with you. So here you see our contact information. Our main person of contact is Dr. Rosa Isela Rodriguez. So you have an email and a phone number here. And of course, you can always reach out to me as well as to other faculty who you're interested in learning from. So we welcome you and we hope to meet you soon. Thank you very much.
On my desk, I have this frame that has a list of things, and it's actually my bucket list. And on there, getting a doctorate has been on there for a long time, and it'd been something that had been put off because I couldn't find the right program for me. And being able to check that off was, it was so important, so meaningful to me and my family, my mom, you know, having her call me Doctora Navarrete was such a proud moment.